Hitler was an airborne frequent in 1942 and 1943. Due to the heavy fighting on the Eastern Front, Hitler had special squadrons of transport aircraft used to move himself and his entourage around his empire in safety and comfort. By 1942, Hitler's aircraft type was the Focke-Wulf 200 Condor, a large maritime patrol aircraft bomber, air-type liner, and especially converted to his use. Hitler's personal Condor was armored and had protection against flak and fighters. It was very comfortable, and the main cabin was polished in wood and carpeting in seatings and on-board services. Hitler had a special armchair that he could have parachutes to. Two other Condors have traveled with Hitler, both well appointed, and one of the travel staff and his guests were in 14 seats and another carrying baggage. The bodyguard detail, when they were fighting, the Condors were protected by fighters. Hitler was always piloted by SS Gorbin Hans, former Luftwaffe captain, but increased Allied air activity over all Europe. Flying was very dangerous in 1942. When he flew to Finland for an important meeting with his Allied Marshal Hermann Goering, he visited the headquarters in Army South, and twice, although Hitler on the ground has been bowling flying shuttle flights between airfields before collecting to Hitler's Condor, now pounced on by Soviet fighters, they had to take on the plane's wings had been hit by machine gun bullets, and Bauer managed to power away and gain altitude and went on the head-on the Soviet fighters. They broke off contact, and the danger yet to come. On 17th of February 1943, Hitler flew to Prussia and the New Poland in Warsaw, fueled and refueled, and flew to headquarters in Army Group South. It was dangerous time for Hitler. Stalingrad had just fallen, leaving a huge hole in the German front lines. He was determined to stop the Soviet counteroffensive and possible relief of Commander Field Marshal von Manstein, but the dangerous approach was the place and the look of prosperous capture on its place, and only 36 miles away from east. Hitler's third Condors landed at 6 a.m. on 17th of February 1943, and the biggest airfield in the city, Saarbrücken. Hitler was included by General Heinz Deuss, and his allies and his bodyguards were greeted by a large Mercedes field car. They were driven into an army of Southern headquarters, and the series of briefings and the two aircraft were huge of the crowds of the transport planes. The fighter units of 3 Condors were carefully checked, and over Hitler was away from the Baugruppen of Hitler's staying close mercenaries. Hitler's meeting in headquarters wouldn't last 3 days though. Manstein would not be relieved, and the Bauers and his aircrews lived to huts too close to the airfield. At breakfast on the morning of 19th of April, Bauer informed Soviet tanks breaking through and advancing through the highway on Befont. This would bring them close to the airfield, where Hitler's aircraft was positioned. The German base and commander had serious alarm, and Messerschmitt 109 fighters were scrambled to attack the tank columns, but fog and low cloud hampered their efforts. They had to return to base without attacking the Soviet T-34s. By now, the cloud or ceiling is down by 200 feet, and the Fessel 156 Sculpture spotter planes were dispatched and later returned, the pilots confirming some 20 T-34, at least 2 hours road time away from the airfield. The German had no existing defenses between the field and the aircraft. Boyet drive to town to report the situation in person to Hitler. Bauer asked the permission to move these planes and the smaller airfield on the southwest of the town, considered safer, and being Hitler, refused the suggestion, and the meeting was finished after he returned shortly at the airfield. The base of commander that what they were trying to organize the defense of the airfield. They lacked any anti-tank guns, even artillery. The short time later, numbers of Soviet tanks had been confirmed, and the spotter was close to the airfield, moving and adjusting from FAM and preparing launch assault vehicles. But shortly after the tanks were spotted, Hitler's convoy also appeared, with engines and condors were also running, and Hitler's party hastily boarded the taxis and onto the runway. They took off. As they powered away, they passed the giant rival, the transport plane coming into land to have anti-tank guns and the equipment for more infantry. It was transported by the Soviet tank column that had not attacked the field. They were short on fuel, allowing Hitler the time he needed to board his Condor and fly back to safety. The Soviets never knew how close they managed to get to Hitler, but Hitler would say to the Red Army, considering of April 1945 was the Red Army troops within 500 meters of Hitler's bunker, then he killed himself. However, if the Soviets have known Hitler's aircraft was on the field, it was very likely that they would have pressed the assault regardless of losses. And Barger told Hitler the reason why the Soviet tanks stopped, they had a fuel situation. Hitler remarked, "A stroke of luck for us." Hitler's almost uncanny luck had been seen dodging multiple assassination attempts held at his aircraft. Became a target later in 1943, a month after his close call with Soviet tanks. He flew into the front again during the stopover in Minsk. On the 3rd of March 1943, a bomb disguised as a package of 2 bottled Kanun was smuggled onto Hitler's Condor. The return flight of the Wolf Slayer, the pencil was activated, but 30 minutes into the flight. But the freezing conditions of the plane, unheated cargo hold, prevented the release of the detonator, firing pin, and Hitler's bomb failed to go off. The bomb was later recovered by the army officers who planted it. The noise was wiser. Like and subscribe, also share.